Good afternoon. This is Dr. Bill Wyatt. I'm going to go over a video that I've done before with you because there's several things in here that I wanted to really stress. And I was fooled into thinking the problem was stress. And if you go ahead and treat that and think that's going to do it, a lot of times you're wrong. So I wanted to stress that point. And the jaw was being pushed back simply by the way the teeth met. The lower teeth couldn't get forward. I'll show you that in some terrible things. It just ground the front teeth off to like a chisel. And I'll show that to you as we get on into the case. And it was the jaw being responsible, the way the teeth met, for causing the jaw to have to go back, and that pushed the condyle back up against this retrodiscal tissue and was keeping it irritated, and it really gets sore and hurts. And so when I've got that problem fixed, the TMJ problem went away. Okay, let's get started. This is a real nice guy, and he must be a smart guy because he was in charge of the computers for American Airlines, doing all these tickets all over the world and everything. And I thought, this is such a stressful job. This is what's causing this. And you could go on and start treating that, but keep looking to find the right cause for this. Now, the stress has a definite effect on it, and I've had cases that it was nothing but stress. And then you have to work on that. Sometimes that's harder to deal with. Okay, let me get on into the case. Now, he has this deep bite. You see the lower teeth are completely covered up here. And when we look at what this has done, this is what's going to amaze you. Now, he had two bicuspids that were squeezed out toward the tongue, and this was pretty good class 1 up to this part, and then this portion here is class 2, division 2. Now, I'm going to better erase that. And as we come forward, the other side of the mouth is really class 2. One side is just barely that way. So you have to do a little twisting of the arches in here, which you can do with class 2 and class 3 elastics and midline elastics and things like that. So that's something we treat in a lot of these cases. So I don't want to duplicate myself too much. Now look at the backs of the upper front teeth. They were porcelain crowns, and these crowns are porcelain all the way down to here. And this one had a hole wore in the crown, and this is porcelain too. And I forget whether, I don't think the cuspids were crowned. So anyway, this guy's lower teeth pressed up against those porcelain crowns, and he was constantly trying to move his jaw forward, and so it was rubbing the front teeth against these porcelain crowns. Now, these crowns, you don't think about it, but they're just like a fine grindstone, really. And so here are his lower teeth. You can't really see it here, but they are ground off to just a chisel point up in here. And the front of it's ground right down to the gum. You can't see it in that picture, but I've got several better pictures over here of that. And so here is in the mouth. That was on the model, and he had rubbed his lower jaw up against those teeth, the jaw trying to get where it wanted to and get the condyle off of that retrodiscal tissue. It kept it sore and irritated, and that causes a heck of a lot of pain. I've had mine irritated like that, and you can't hardly touch it, and it's bothersome. And you can't take medication that'll take care of it. If you do, it'll knock you out in a lot of other ways. So let's see. This is a deep bite, and I'm going to show you those teeth. Now there, this is, I said it was solid porcelain. There's some gold down there, but the two backs of the central and the one lateral over here are porcelain all the way. This is porcelain, must have been done later on right here. So let's look at now this is the lower front teeth. And this is a real problem. You can't stick bands or brackets or anything on this much, but what we did do is take the bands and we slid them on here and bonded them, but you couldn't leave them like that, and the band would go around the tooth and there'd be a big hollow spot up here. So we had to put composite on these teeth after we put a band on the teeth. I've got a picture in here, I think, that shows that. And so we'll see when we get there. Now these teeth are ground off, or just actually like you took a grindstone and just ground them down. And so we had to build them up. And so I used the bands with brackets on them to do this. And so here we've done it, and I'm skipped ahead a good bit here. These are intruding arch wires, you see. We've got a whole bunch of videos with showing that. See, this wire would be way up here, and we pulled it down and hooked it to this, and that wire picked these up. It takes these down. There's one right down here, and it's taking these down, and it raised those teeth up to where there's space between the upper and lower teeth. And the guy that referred him to me was I thought I didn't know who it was, but it was a good friend, and so he sent him over to me, and we put this appliance in, and in a week or two he had his bite open. Maybe it was a month, I've forgotten, and we started moving these teeth out, and as soon as I got it open, the jaw was relieved in the back, and the condyle wasn't being shoved up to the retrodiscal tissue. Now, if you go and look at this video where these Norwegian doctors did these cut downs on cadavers and showed the movement of the teeth, you can really see what's happening here. Now, there we put a bite plate in and also open that up, and here are the teeth. Now we put the band around it and bonded it to the tooth, but we couldn't bond it down here, so we filled it with composite, and then we were able to work with these teeth like they were normal teeth. And we had brackets on our bands, of course. We put brackets on the cuspids and got down real low on them. And you can do that, and we've shown you how to do it. Now here's the intruding wire, and this is a little flexible wire that we didn't it's bonded by a bracket there and maybe a bracket over here. So let's get on with this. Now here the intruding wire is pushing that down, and then we went from where you couldn't even see these teeth, and the upper teeth were down like this, and now the upper teeth are way up here. We're going to need to torque them forward a little bit. And so I wasn't aware that my friend saw he had space enough in it and thought it was time to do that. So he took this off and put crowned all these teeth across here. I'll show you that to you just a little bit. So it left us, he was getting ahead of it, and so it didn't bother me too much, but you can see we got a space in there, and he took up this space. Now these teeth were down here somewhere, and that is straightened that up amazingly how quick. And as soon as I got this straightened up, then I began to realize it was not stress, or I thought it was part stress, and I thought he'd have to change his job, and we had helped it, by freeing the jaw up. But when we freed the jaw up, he could take the stress. And people are so different in the stress that they can take. Some can't take very much, and other people, it just rolls off their back like water off a duck. So anyway, we took that down, and he had these crowns. The next time I'll show here where he's got the crowns. And this is still that way. Now here he had these crowns on all these teeth when I got back, and this was 95, and we started him in 93, and so in some sense we're almost through with the case, and we've taken the arch wire off the lower teeth to do the band. So I think we just left it off, and so we're working with the upper arch wire, finishing that out. And let's see, here we are with his mouth open, and his back teeth are nearly touching back there. So these bands were put on just several months after we started the case. As soon as we got it open, my friend crowned all 6 of those front teeth for him. And let's go on through this. Now he still had these upper crowns on at this time. Now there the teeth are, and this is the upper. We put a bite plate on this retainer as soon as we got this going, and so we took that off, and this is where it ended up. Now these were some sorry looking crowns. I don't know where they were made. These are nice looking crowns, and he did actually redo these. This looks like somebody put a wax deal around there and pushed their thumb in it and poured it and put it on as a crown. But anyway, he got those fixed, and so we went on from there. Now once we got that down, we put a lower lower retainer in with a double arch on it, you see, coming around this way just to make sure that stayed where it was, plus an upper retainer, and let the teeth erupt together. And so this is 1995, and we had finished him, and I watched this for quite a while, and I've got some pictures in here of 98, and I know this gentleman, and he sent other people on his staff there in the American Airlines office where he worked, and we did people that had TMJ problems there. Now here it was class 1, and this is let me show you those teeth that were sticking in on his lower bicuspids were crowded up. Now I'll show you that. Alright, this bicuspid was crowded out inside, and as we got these teeth out of the way, we opened that and made space in here, and still we had room enough out there for the condyle, which is on this jaw back in here, pressing on the retrodiscal tissue, and this jaw is moved forward enough to free that up back in this area. This tooth is crowded out into the lingual over to the tongue. Now this thing, I'm going to run through this again where we'd finished. But here are these bicuspids, and we advance these teeth enough to where we had room to slide these in, and also to where these teeth were not running into the upper teeth, and he kept trying to make room for the teeth by rubbing against them, and he just wore these teeth down. And this is a very interesting case. It's sometimes these things happen, and it's hard to figure out exactly what caused it, and you got to get to the cause. Like, you could treat this man for stress for months and he'd still be hurting, or you'd take him off a medication or something, he'd start back to have trouble with that. Now let me erase that, and we'll go on. Now see where the teeth, we put those teeth, and if you look back, they were like that. And so our problem was these teeth were too far forward, and we had moved them forward, but when you open the bite like this, the teeth will have a lot of room to move forward, and the jaw frequently doesn't even require any class 3 elastics. It'll just come forward. It doesn't want to be back there where it is. Okay, let's get on with this. And this is the gentleman, and he was very happy to get this done. So I think that's some duplicate stuff there. So if you run into this kind of problem, always look for the various ways that it can be caused. I've had 2 patients I know that it virtually was nothing but stress. And one lady was just fighting with her boss all the time, and she was under so much stress I could not get her jaw going right without pain until she changed the jobs, and then I could fix it, and it didn't bother anything. So this is what we have, and that expanded those lower teeth, and you can see where they are there you can see where we open that up and then push those forward, and then her dentist came in and crowned those front teeth. I think there's some duplicates here, but here are those. He crowned the 6 lower anterior teeth, and we were able to get it straightened out and put those on, and he ended up about 1995 like that. He still had those upper crowns, but I think seemed like the last time I saw him he had changed them out. So these are the lower, and he had also changed these crowns back here. Okay, now here's 95, and I'm going to come up to picture in 98. Okay, these are 98 pictures, and he still has no jaw pain at all, and he's able to take the stress of this pictures for American Airlines and run these computers. So hope you get something from this, and it is a satisfying thing to take somebody having a real difficult job like that and having so much trouble they could hardly do it, and figure out the reason for it and do the reason needed to be moved around. And you say, does orthodontics affect the TMJ? It is so ridiculous to say that it doesn't. And you relieve it basically with the orthodontics rather than everything else under the sun that people talk about relieving it with. So I'm going to see him right here. You can see where the teeth are. And we got them torqued a little better before we quit. And here is in 93, and there's 98. And that's 93 when we started. And here it is in 98. That's several years after we finished. And it's still holding up. I'm sure he wears his retainer. We got a little space on one side over there, but that tooth could be crowned or fixed to spread it out to cover that hole right there. All right, that's start, and there we are finished, and that's 98. That's a few years after we finished him, and that's the end of it. I thank you for watching this. There's a lot to learn about this, and people that just ignore the TMJ and seem to they don't even want to learn anything about it. But do learn it. If you do orthodontics, or really you ought to know about the TMJ and how it works and everything, because things you do in dentistry will affect it. And it's definite. You need to know why they come in with pain like that. So thanks for watching it, and I hope you got something out of it.